So I had a request in this post of mine from about 5 months ago. I'm sorry I did not see your post before a couple of days ago. I'm not getting notifications that people are commenting, so I'll have to check into that. From Daryl Whitman 8475, he says, show how step by step you downloaded the software on your PC. No one showed this step. Okay, Daryl, I will show how I downloaded UGS, the Universal G-Code Sender, and I will also show how I downloaded and compiled Candle. Now this is on Linux, and I will show Windows as well, but I'm going to show Linux first of all because that's what I primarily use. And I'll start off with the Universal G-Code Sender because it's the simplest one. No compiling is necessary. So this is the UGS website. The link will be below in the description. And I will also do this if you are watching on Rumble. So we're going to go to download. And we're going to pick which version we want. In this case, I'm choosing 2.0.20, and then you have your choice for Windows x64, Windows with a bundled Java version, Mac OS also with bundled Java, Linux with bundled Java, Linux ARM with bundled Java, and on all platforms which does not have Java in it. We're going to pick 2.0.20 Linux, so I'll click on that. Going to save file. Take a minute or two. It's a 143 meg download. And we're done. Now this is a completely clean version of Mint 20 that I'm using here. So that when I come to the Candle step, I can show you everything that's needed in order to make it function. So we're going to right click on the desktop and go open in terminal. Now I'm going to maximize this window, and we're going to go into the downloads directory, and I'm going to list the contents, and you'll see Linux, UGS, platform, etc. So let's expand that. Uncompressing using the tar command. And since there's only one file in here, I'm just going to hit the tab key and it will automatically put the file name in there. And it uncompresses it. If we do a listing, we now see that we have UGS platform Linux folder there. Now we're going to go in and test it and make sure it runs. So cd UGS, and again, you see I've typed the first three letters, I hit tab, it completes the folder name. In this case, we're going to need to go into bin. Let's have a quick look, see what we've got. And we're going to run the first command there, UGS platform. Takes a moment to load up. And there it is, all functional and waiting for input. Now I will show in a moment or two how to actually connect this to the CNC machine, but let's close that now. And I'm going to open up the file browser, and I'm going to create a directory under my home folder called bin, and I'm going to open up another tab here, and I'm going to go into the downloads folder, and over here I'm going to go into the bin folder, and I'm just going to drag that up onto the other tab and we can see that UGS Platform Linux is now in my bin folder. But I don't want to have to go into the terminal or go browsing for it on the file folder in order to execute it whenever I need it. So let's just create a shortcut on the desktop here. I'm going to create a launcher. I'm going to call it UGS. I'm going to browse to bin to UGS platform-linux to bin, and I'm going to select UGS platform, and I'm going to go open. And now I want to put a comment in there, just because this is a clean install that came up. Universal Gcode sender. Let's test it again just to make sure it works. I right-clicked on it, I went open. I could have double-clicked it just as easily. There it goes, it's launching. And there it is. I don't really like that plain sheet of paper looking thing, so let's go find an image for it. So I'm going to go UGS, and I'm going to add the term Gribble. I'm going to go icon. I'm going to go to images, and I'm going to select this one. Actually, there's one I haven't seen before. Let's pick that. I'm going to save image as. I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to create a folder called icons because I like all my icons nicely organized, and we'll rename it to UGS. There we go. It's saved. Now if we right click on the UGS icon we just created, I'm going to go into properties, and I'm going to click this little icon up here, go into the icons folder, and I'm just going to open that and close, and you can see I have a nice little icon that makes more sense than just a sheet of paper with lines on it. So the next thing to do is candle. So let's go find candle. We're going to go into the GitHub page here and download the binary for Linux. Again, it's a tar.gz file. So we'll click on it. We're going to save it, and it'll go into our downloads folder. And this is a small file. So let's go back into this window, and we're going to go and you can see that candle is there, so let's do the same thing here. Tar xvzf candle, and it's decompiled it into the candle folder. So let's cd into the candle folder, and there's our file at the top, candle with a capital C. And you're about to see why we have to compile it. So we try to run it. It says candle, no such file or directory. Now if we had it in debug mode, we would see that it cannot find a library that it's looking for. So we have to compile it from scratch in order to make it work, and it's somewhat involved. So let's start off with the very first thing that we need. Sudo, or sudo if you wish, apt-get install build essential, which gives us the baseline of our compiling tools that we need. We're going to say yes. and I'll speed this up and come back. Okay, I've cleared the screen just so it's a little bit clearer to watch, and now we need to install some prerequisites for Candle to be able to compile. So you'll see that these are development libraries that we're going to need. If I've already installed them, they'll throw an error, but it'll keep on installing as for the rest of them. So here we go, and it may take a bit, so I'll speed the process up a bit. Okay, that's done. Let's just go into the file browser here. And we'll go into downloads. And we can just rename that. I'm going to leave it around just for a moment. Go. One more step to go here, and we'll need to get the source code. So hang tough a second. If you remember from the command that I entered earlier to install the prerequisites, we installed something called git. And so what we need to do is get the source code, and we're going to use git to do that. So you'll see git clone and an address, and that is where the source code is going to come from. So let's do this. And if we look now, we'll see we have a candle directory again. So let's go in there. And inside of Candle, we have an src, or a source directory. So let's go into there. And now what we need to do is we need to prepare this for compiling. So we need to run something called qmake. And that's done. Now we type in the command make. And I will speed this up. Okay, we are done. Let's have a look here. And now we can see up here in green, Candle with a capital C at the front. That is our executable. So let's see what happens if we run it this time. And there it is. Now I'm going to show you how to install this on Windows 10. I don't have a Mac handy, so I can't show that, but I will show this on Windows 10 as well. It's much simpler on Windows because we don't have to compile anything. So I'll do both UGS and Candle. But before I do that, let's exit out of here and let's install our finished product. I'm going to have to do this with sudo. Okay, nothing to be done. But we are complete. So since the make command wouldn't move our binary someplace more accessible, let's do it manually. So I'm in the command line here, and I'm going to do this from the file browser. So you'll see here I've gone into bin, and I'm going to create a folder. I'm simply going to call it candle. I'll go in there, and I'm going to open a new tab. Go to downloads, candle, source, and then I'm going to select our candle binary, copy it, and paste it in there. And now let's create a launcher for it. Simply call it candle. Bin, and there it is. We'll call it candle CNC program. Now if we run it, what happens? And there it is. So we're good to go. I am going to now head over to Windows, and we'll see it installed in Windows. We've gone from a Linux virtual machine into a Windows 10 virtual machine, and since Windows 11 is almost identical, it's just the naming change, we will settle on Windows 10 for doing our Windows install. Web links are exactly the same, and again, they're going to be in the description underneath the video. So let's go up to download, and we're going to pick again 2.0.20, but this time for Windows x64. We're going to save the file. And let's go in and set it up. So in downloads, we'll just double click it. It's a zip file. And we will right click, and we will click and extract all. And this take a minute or two. Okay, we'll go into the file that has just been extracted, and we can see there's no installer, so we're going to have to do this the manual way, but let's just test this and see what happens. And there it is. Initial launch tends to be a bit sluggish because it is Java based. And there we have it, up and running. So now let's install this. I'm going to go up a couple of levels. I'm going to right click on our file folder, go into the root of the Windows hard drive, go into Program Files. I'm going to right click in here and paste. We will continue. Now let's create a desktop shortcut. Right click, new shortcut. We will browse to this PC, Windows C, Program Files, UGS Platform, bin, and we're just going to select UGS Platform 64. Next, and we will name it UGS. We'll finish. It creates a nice icon for us, and let's see what happens when we go to launch it. So far, so good. And there we are, we have our program up and running. Let's exit out. I'm just going to move this over here. Now what about candle? So, again, same link, and you can see we've got a file for Windows called candle 1.1.7.zip. So let's click on it, save it. And it's a fairly fast download, so now let's go into our downloads folder. And there it is. So let's again open it, extract it, extract all. We just click extract. Back up and go now into our candle 1.1.7 directory, except that this one I'm going to rename it simply to candle. Let's go in and test it. There's our executable. Let's see if it launches. And it does. Good and quick. So now let's put that one in our program files directory. We'll go to Windows C, program files, and we will paste. And we're doing this again this way because there is no installer for either of these programs. We don't need the browser anymore. Let's create a shortcut. So we go new, shortcut, browse to this PC, Windows C, program files, candle, and we'll select the executable. Next, and we can leave that as is. Go finish, and there's candle. Let's move it down here and see if it launches. And there we go. Last thing we need to do is see if it works. Well, we have downloaded and installed Universal G-Code Sender. Here showing up as Universal G-Code Platform version 2.0.12. This is my other Linux machine. The other one was just for installation purposes, but they are the same. So now we need to configure our software to work with our CNC machine. You can see I've got the camera pointed at the CNC here. Here, this button is to connect our computer to the CNC. This one, labeled firmware, indicates what kind of a CNC machine it is. In this case, we have a selected gribble, or gerbil, some people call it. The port is going to be the USB port that we're using. Now, this looks a little strange to you Windows people because this is a Linux computer. And so instead of being designated as COM1, COM2, etc., it is designated /dev/tty something. And the baud rate that we're going to communicate to the CNC with, in this case 115,200. So the first thing we need to do after we've plugged into the computer is click the refresh button and have a look, and the one we want is this one. Dev tty USB 0, because we're connected via USB. Now we are going to tell the computer to talk to the CNC machine. Excellent. Alarm is not a bad thing. It just indicates that the CNC machine is ready, and it goes into this kind of locked mode when you first connect to it, so that it doesn't do weird things like send the spindlets around or send the table back and forth. So we just go down and we go unlock, and now the CNC machine is idle. So let's click the home button, which sends it to far right and sends the build platform to the front, which it already is, which puts the spindle at the back right corner of the machine. Now, it won't do much when I click on this, but if the machine had been in the middle or on the left or whatever, it would simply move to the right. And there, it's happy. So now I've got the step size set to 30, and the step size for Z I'm going to set to 10. And then let's try jogging the spindle to the left. And there we go, 10 steps. Let's go 10 more. And let's move the platform 10 steps to the back. That's good. Now let's move the spindle down. Now I'm not going to start it up because it makes an awful noise, and here where I am it is 9:45 at night. I do not want to disturb my neighbors. But let's press the home button so you can see it moving back to where it belongs. Spindle goes up, finds out where it is, moves to the right, platform moves to the front, and it's happy. Now let's load a file so you can see what that looks like. Now I am just going to move this over because we want to be able to see the file. Let's just pick the dragon. And there we go. It's a fairly big file, so and if I turn it sort of sideways, you can see that there's all kinds of nice little bumps and so on in there. Now I have started the process for carving this at one time, but it was going to take 6 hours, so yeah. Maybe sometime when I've got a day I'll carve this and show it later, but not right now. But if you look in the center, let me move this out of the way. These are Gcode commands in the middle here, which get sent to the CNC machine. The CNC machine interprets them as movement and whether to spin the spindle up, etc., and carves out whatever we're wanting to carve, hopefully. Anyway, that is UGS. Let's move on to Candle. And there's Candle. And I'm just going to move this off to this side here so that you can see what's on this side over here. Now you'll see that it says not connected. So we have to do the same thing to Candle that we did to UGS, which is to configure it. So we go into Service and Settings for this. There we go. So now you'll see here, if I do a reset, it's already on TTY USB 0. So now again we have that alarm state, which is nothing to worry about. It just means that the machine is locked, that it won't do anything weird when the software connects to it. So let's unlock it here. The padlock is over here in this case, whereas it was over here on UGS. And now the machine is sitting at idle, waiting for commands. Let's pick steps. I am going to change steps to 20. And the feed rate I'm going to set to 100. You want to make sure to be very careful with your step size with the Genmitsu 3020 because it has soft limits, and if you breach them, the machine will just go, that I can't handle it. I think you're going to go too far, and it will basically go into an alarm state and lock down. So let's jog the spindle to the left. And it's jogging kind of slowly there, but it is going. It's because I have feed set to 100. So let's up the speed to 300 and try it again. That's better. Now how about we move the table back? And we'll drop the spindle. There we go. So now let's load a file and take a look at it. We'll load the same one. And we'll zoom in on it because it looks kind of ugly right now. There we go. Now this Dragon file actually comes with the SaneSmart Genmitsu 3020. It's on a USB stick with a number of other sample files. Now I'm not going to go into calibration of the machine. Generally it comes pretty close. But now I'm just going to sneak out and bring up a YouTube page, which I'm going to point you to for calibration instructions. This is where I will point you to when it comes to calibrating your CNC machine, its axis and steps. This is James Dean, James Dean Designs. I'm not going to show you the calibration procedure myself because I used his calibration procedure, which worked just fine for me, so it should work just fine for you. And he's also using the Genmitsu 3020. So yeah. So if you would like and subscribe to my page, it would help the algorithm an awful lot. And yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy your machine and your software. If you have any questions, pop them into the comments below. This one was for you, Daryl. Jamata.